Hi, this is Kate. This video is going to show you how to close up your Google Classroom for the end of the school year. Just like you would go in and prepare your physical classroom for the end of the school year, there are some things that you'd want to do in Google Classroom to keep things organized for you and your students. In this video, I'll show you how to make sure you've returned all student work, and then to choose to either archive the class, delete the class, or remove the students and archive the class. I'll get into those specifics a little bit later. For now, let's focus on making sure we've returned all student work. In Google Classroom, when students turn work in to the teacher becomes the owner of the work, whether that's a document, a slideshow, or a drawing. When students turn work into you and you're the owner, they cannot edit the work. You may have experienced this before when students turn work in before they're actually done, and then they go in and they want to edit, and they can't. It's view only, and they need to request edit access from you. Well, that's what happens when the students turn in work to you. You become the owner, they get locked out. So the idea is that you review that work, grade it, and return it to the student before the end of the year. And you've probably been doing that throughout the year. So there's just a quick way we can go through and check to see if there's anything left to be returned to students. To do that, you'll come over here to the three lines in the top left corner and select To Do. This is like the teacher's to-do list of items that need to be reviewed. So this shows all the assignments for all of your classes. Up at the top, there are two tabs, To Review, items that need to be reviewed, and Reviewed, items that have already been reviewed. There's this drop-down menu that shows you what you're focusing on. Right now, the default would be to be looking at all your classes, every class you teach. You can also click on this down arrow and select a particular class from the list below All Classes. But I want to make sure I've returned work in all the classes I teach, so I'm going to stay focused there. This list shows all of your assignments. To the right of each assignment name, there's some numbers. You want to look at the turned in number. That's the number that tells you if there's an assignment that has been turned in by a student and needs your attention. If there's a 0 there, you can just click on those 3 dots to the right and mark that assignment as reviewed. That will send it over into the Reviewed tab and remove it from this To Be Reviewed list. So really, we're just looking for assignments that have something that's been turned in. Where there's zeros there, those can all get marked as reviewed. But if I scroll down, I think I do have an assignment here where there is something turned in. Here we go, Earth Day video. There are 2 turned in assignments in Earth Day video. So I'm going to click here on these 2 that have been turned in, these 2 Earth Day videos. These 2 students turned in some work. Their work appears here. I can click on it to review it. When I've reviewed it, I can come over here on the left side, and here's the 2 turned in assignments. I can add grades here. I'll click in here, grade this one. And then I can check the boxes next to those student names and click Return to return those assignments to the students. And then click Return. After returning those, I'm going to head back to my to-do list, click on the 3 lines, To Do, and now I have all zeros under Turned In. So I can mark all of those as reviewed, and I'm all set. There aren't any student assignments still in my clutches. Students have ownership over their work and can edit it, share it freely. So now that we've returned all student work, I'm going to head back to my classes. Click on the 3 lines, Classes. All of my active classes appear here. If you teach multiple sections each year, this can get cluttered really quickly. So at the end of each year, you may want to clear this space by archiving classes that you're done teaching. Archiving the class removes it from this view, but still saves the class for you and your students to access it if needed. Commenting and posting in the stream will be turned off when the class is archived, but you and your students will still be able to view all the assignments, announcements, and comments from the class. To archive a class, you click on the three dots in the top right of that class tile and select Archive. It will ask you if you're sure. Remember that when you archive the class, you and your students won't be able to make any changes. You'll only be able to view the class. Click Archive. That class tile has now disappeared from my classes view. To access it, I want to hit these three lines, scroll all the way down to Archived Classes. Here are any classes that I've archived. If I want to reactivate that class, I can click on the three dots and select Restore. That will bring it right back into classes and restore the ability for me and my students to edit that classroom. Any classes that you have archived will still be accessible to you when you want to reuse a post. If you want to reuse assignments and announcements from a class in future years, make sure you do not delete the class. But if you're not planning to reuse anything from this class and you want to delete it, you can permanently delete it by clicking on the three lines and selecting Delete. Remember that that cannot be undone, so make sure that there are no assignments or posts that you want to keep. All of the files will remain in Google Drive. If you archive the class, remember that you and your students will still be able to view everything in the class. Students cannot unenroll themselves from an archived class, so I recommend you remove your students from the class before you archive it. Please be aware that when you archive a class, your students will still be able to go in and see all of the announcements and assignments in that class. And this includes any quizzes. If you have some self-grading quizzes, that includes quiz results. And there may be some files and other information that you don't really want students to be able to access after this class is over. And I'll demonstrate what that's like. So here in this class, the narwhals, the last assignment that I created was a final exam. This was a quiz assignment. And I set some questions as self-grading. And so now I'm going to go back to classes and I'm going to archive this class. It's the end of the year. So I need to go back to classes. Click on the three dots and select Archive. And Archive. And now I'm going to show you from the student view what that looks like for the students. So here I am in the students' classes, and they would also need to go into archived classes now to find that one. Archived classes. Right, there it is, the narwhals. I'll go into that class and check out my classwork. Right, here's that final exam. I can still view the assignment. Right, the class is archived, so I can't comment or turn in work. But I know that my work is there. It's been graded. So let's see if I open this up. I have the option to view my score. And here it shows me the whole exam with the correct answers and everything, right? And the feedback from the teacher. And that's going to be always there available to me in my archived class, unless, of course, the teacher removes me from the class. So I'll show you how to do that if you think there's some information that you want to prevent your students from seeing after the class is over. If you choose to remove students from your Google Classroom at the end of the year, they will still have access to anything that they worked on during the school year in their Google Drive folder. So to remove students, you'd go into the class, head over to the People tab, check the box next to the name of any student you want to remove. If you click this top box, it'll check all students. I'm just going to remove one student for this example, Test 2 student. Once you've checked that box, you're going to go up to Actions and select Remove. I'll have to confirm. And now that student has been removed from the class. I'm going to switch over to another window where I am logged in as that student. So here I'm logged in as Test 2 student. And within my drive, all students have a folder called Classroom that contains a folder for any Google Classroom they were ever a part of. Even though I was just removed from this class, here it is right at the top. And I only did one assignment in that class, but there it is. I've got access to it, and I am the owner since my teacher returned it to me. So you can safely remove students from your Google Classroom at the end of the year, and they won't lose access to anything that they worked on. Now, if for some reason you don't want to archive the class, you don't want to delete the class, you don't want to remove your students, you really want them to be able to have access to everything in the classroom all summer and into next year, well, that's fine, but the least that you're going to want to do is probably turn off comments and posts. Otherwise, you're going to need to monitor and moderate the class stream. So let's go ahead and do that for the narwhals. Click on the name of the class, go to the settings gear in the top right, and then scroll down, and under General, we've got Stream. And right now I have it set to only teachers can post or comment. Usually during the school year, you have it on students can post and comment. And if you leave it like that over the summer, students will be able to come on here and make posts and comments back and forth, and you're going to want to be a part of that conversation. If you don't want to have to come and check that stream over the summer, make sure you change it to only teachers can post or comment, right? And that's only if you're not planning to archive or delete your class. Right? If you do, click Save. Unless you plan to monitor and moderate your class stream over the summer, you'll want to at least turn off comments and posts. If you want to make sure students can't access quiz results and other sensitive items, remove the students from the class before archiving. If you're not planning to use the class at all over the summer, archive it. You'll still be able to reuse assignments from the class and can restore it at any time. Archiving at the end of each school year will keep your Google Classroom organized for you and your students. Thanks for watching. Have a great summer.